In the silence of the night, even the smallest sounds make the heart tremble. The rustling of trees, the light tapping of rain on the window, or the ticking clock in the room. Everything creates a strange kind of unease. But when, among those sounds, an unknown and unnatural whisper is heard, a person's hair stands on end. This is the story of an ordinary girl named Mariam. Mariam's life was completely normal. She was a university student, laughed and joked with friends, read books late at night in her small room, and sometimes got scared herself while watching horror movies. But she never imagined that one day a cursed toy would enter her life that would push her entire world into darkness. One day, Mariam's close friend Hira gave her a gift. It was a beautiful box wrapped in colorful papers. Mariam happily opened the box and took out a strange, doll-like toy. This was no ordinary doll. Its eyes were large, its teeth sharp, and its face carried a smile that looked as innocent as it was frightening. Inside the box was a small note that said, "This is Labubu Doll. Handle it with care." Mariam laughed and said, "Hira, what kind of scary toy have you brought me? It looks terrifying." Hira smiled and replied, "It just seemed unique, so I got it. They say it's a famous Chinese collection. Rare. Keep it, it'll look nice." Mariam didn't think much about it and placed the doll on her study table. That night, Mariam had a dream. In it, she was sitting in her room, but the light was dim. Suddenly, the Labubu doll began to move. Its eyes glowed red, and it kept repeating the same words. "Play with me. Play with me." Mariam screamed and woke up, drenched in sweat. She looked at the clock. It was 3 a.m. Nervously, she got up to drink water and glanced at the Labubu doll in the corner. It was sitting exactly as before. "Maybe this is just my imagination," Mariam whispered to herself. But in reality, it wasn't imagination. Mariam had a pet dog named Black. The next day, when Mariam touched the Labubu doll, Black started barking furiously. His eyes turned red, and he leapt at the doll as if he wanted to tear it apart. Mariam found this behavior strange. He had never been this aggressive. When she placed the doll back on the table, Black calmed down, but his eyes remained fixed on the toy. That night, Mariam entered another dream. This time, she found herself in a dark room where old paintings were hanging on the walls. In every painting, the same thing appeared: Labubu doll. Sometimes it stood under a tree, sometimes in a child's hand, sometimes sitting on a grave. In every picture, that same demonic smile, those empty eyes. Mariam turned around and saw the doll actually standing behind her. Its voice echoed, "You have called me. Now I will never leave." At that moment, Mariam woke up. Now Mariam began to feel strange things even during the day, as if someone was walking in her room. Sometimes a book would fall on its own. Sometimes the curtain on the window would move without wind. One day, when she returned from university, she froze at the sight of her room. The Labubu doll was no longer on the study table, but sitting on her bed. Mariam's hands started trembling. How is this possible? I placed it on the table. She quickly picked up the doll and put it back on the table, but a wave of fear ran through her heart. Even in daylight, Mariam began to feel as if someone was following her. When she studied, the words on the page seemed to shift strangely, as if someone had blown on them. Sometimes she heard whispers in her ears. "Mariam, I am here. Don't leave me alone." Startled, Mariam would look around, but no one was there. Only the cursed doll sat on the study table, smiling. One night, Mariam went to the kitchen to drink water. As soon as she opened the fridge, she felt someone standing behind her. Nervously, she turned around, but there was nothing. But when she returned to her room, her feet froze to the ground. The Labubu doll was now standing in the middle of the room. Mariam's heart pounded. She couldn't think how this was possible. Her hands shook, but she gathered courage, picked up the doll, and put it back on the table. Suddenly, Black started barking loudly and lunged at the toy. Mariam held him back, but in his eyes was such terror as if he could see something Mariam couldn't. The next day, Mariam called her friend, Hira. Hira, that doll you gave me. It's strange. Every night I have terrifying dreams, and it moves from place to place. Hira laughed at first. Oh, silly. It's just your imagination. You've been watching too many horror movies. Mariam angrily said, No, Hira. I'm not joking. This doll, it's scary. Even Black barks at it. I think there's something in it. Hira was silent for a moment, then said, Okay, I'll come to your house tomorrow. The next evening, Mariam and Hira prepared to destroy the Labubu doll. They dug a pit in the backyard and gathered dry wood. Mariam's hands trembled, but her eyes were determined. Today it all ends, Mariam said, and threw the doll on the ground. Hira lit the fire. Flames rose high. Together they threw the Labubu doll into the fire. But something strange happened. The fire began to die. Flames that burned strongly suddenly dimmed, as if water had been poured over them. The doll's smile grew even more terrifying. Its eyes glowed red, and a crackling voice echoed, Do you think you can destroy me? I have lived for centuries. I do not burn. Mariam and Hira stepped back. The ground shook, and the air grew icy cold. Their breath turned into fog as if it were the dead of winter. A black shadow formed around the doll, slowly taking human shape. It was the shadow of a woman, her eyes empty, her face distorted. She screamed, This doll is mine. It is the prison of my soul. As long as someone remembers me, I will never die. Mariam asked in a trembling voice, Who are you? What do you want from us? The shadow said, I am Emily's mother. I sacrificed my life trying to save my daughter. But this doll trapped my soul too. Now I remain with anyone who keeps it. And now, it's your turn. Courage rose in Mariam's heart. She thought, if she backed away now, this cursed thing would haunt her forever. She picked up a metal rod nearby and struck the doll with all her strength. Instead of breaking, the doll screamed. This time, the scream was human. You cannot harm me, it growled. But Mariam did not stop. She struck again and again, reciting verses and prayers in her heart. Hira joined her, and together they smashed the doll. With a loud explosion, smoke burst from the doll. The black shadow rose into the air, letting out a piercing scream. The ground shook, branches snapped, and the flames roared back to life. You have freed me from this prison. But remember, freedom and destruction go hand in hand. I will return, forever. And then the shadow vanished into the darkness. The doll had burned to ashes. For a while, both stood silently. The atmosphere was calm. The fire slowly died down. Mariam took a deep breath and said, Maybe it's over. Hira put a hand on her shoulder. Yes, maybe. But in both of their hearts, fear remained. Was it really over? Or was it just at the beginning? Mariam returned to university. Life became somewhat normal again. But sometimes, she felt someone watching her. In the corner of the room, in the mirror, or in her dreams. That same smile appeared. One night while Mariam was studying, suddenly, a piece of paper fell on her desk. On it was written, I am still here, Play with me. The pen slipped from Mariam's hand. Slowly, she raised her head. On the study table, from the pile of ashes, the face of the Labubu doll was emerging. The story of the Labubu doll does not end here. Wherever this toy goes, it brings darkness, horror, and death with it. Mariam's life had now become part of a game from which escape was impossible. Sometimes it's better to let some things go, because some stories never end.